disaster events. The town's current hazard mitigation plan was published in 2004. So last year, the planning board applied for a grant to update the 20-year-old plan. We were awarded the grant funds, formed a hazard mitigation committee, and selected a consultant to help update the plan. From the committee, we have here Chief Dan Baldwin, Bill Weinberg, Town Planner Michael Burris, and myself, Jim Whiten. And I guess not here is Police Chief Chris Dunn, who didn't make it. On the consultant side, we have Annalise Boylan and Robert Damaris from PAR Engineering, or PAR, I'm sorry, who are drafting the planned update. Annalise will be coordinating the event tonight, who is going to take over from here. And also we have here Sam Haynes from Coastal Zone Management. And we have a lot of other people that are here, and I appreciate you coming. So I'm going to sit down and let them go forward.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for coming. It's great to see a good turnout here. As Jim said, Annalise and I are here from PAR Corporation. And we were selected by Westport to assist with the development of the hazard mitigation plan. The members here are from the local hazard mitigation planning team, and they were appointed by the town to direct and oversee this process to make sure that the town gets its input. What we'd like to do tonight is tell you what hazard mitigation plans are, what's unique about Westport, profile of the community, summary from the 2004 report, what FEMA wants for updates in the new plan format, and natural hazards that Westport experiences. Every community is unique, and Westport is no different. We got some survey results, the ones you filled out tonight. There's more over there if you haven't done one already. We got a few online responses. We'd certainly like more. And then what are the next steps in the hazard mitigation plan process and our goals for tonight. So hazard mitigation plan is a requirement by FEMA for all communities to be to develop a plan that mitigates risk that the community is facing. So we go through, assess risks, come up with mitigation strategies, and adopt a plan. It's a way for the community to be prepared. If a disaster were to strike, by going through this process, there's some measure of the community is prepared, that they have an emergency preparedness plan, they know where their risks and vulnerabilities are, and how they can react to them, and what future projects or tasks they could implement in order to mitigate those risks. The benefit is obviously a safer community, but reduced risk for life and property. Also, it prioritizes the town's, it sort of forces the town to prioritize what their needs are in regards to natural hazards. So there is, it is important that the town create this list. It sends to federal and state agencies to, like, here's our list of things we want to do. So if a grant were to come up, refer back to this plan and say, look, we've identified this, it went through a process, this is a true need. So hazard mitigation plans, the process we're going to use here is, the first step was to organize. We got a hazard mitigation team together, the local hazard mitigation planning team. They selected us as consultants to provide some technical expertise, develop the maps that you saw out there, and basically write the plan, but it is guided and directed by the local hazard mitigation planning team. The first thing we're going to do is assess the risks. Where is Westport vulnerable? Where is, what populations are at risk? What, is there a particular road or culvert that needs to be upgraded that causes that risk? And then develop a mitigation strategy. If you upgraded the culvert, would it reduce the risk? If you raise the road, would it reduce the risk? Is there some policy or development control that would reduce the potential for this risk in the future? And then we adopt and implement the plan. The local hazard mitigation team will review the plan, send it off to the select board, and then they will adopt it. It goes off to MEMA and FEMA. And Annalise will take it from here.
Perfect, thank you. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for coming. I really appreciate seeing you all here, and hopefully we get a lot out of this meeting tonight. So we're going to start with just some community overviews, and then we'll get a little bit more into the process. I'm sure you're all very familiar with the statistics, so I'll kind of go through them, but Westport is a historic community settled in 1670. The population is around 16,400, and the median age is around 51. Westport is about 64.4 square miles, with about 23% of that containing water. And then finally, there are a little less than 8,000 housing units within the area. So just some demographic statistics for the area. So in 2004 was the last hazard mitigation plan update within this community, which was 20 years ago. Although there's been lots of planning efforts since then, the report itself hasn't been updated in 20 years. So our team will be working with the community to update the report, as Rob mentioned. I just wanted to give a quick summary of some of the key findings from 2004, just to help bring the group up to speed on some of the elements. Some of the items included assessing the risk of the coastline and the barrier beaches. It talked a lot about seasonal populations and what effects that has on the community. It also talks about the risks of agricultural land to natural hazards, and then also a little bit about well supplies and septic as well. And then some of the key or larger threats that the report assessed included riverine and coastal flooding, then also winter storms, wind, and hurricanes were the major takeaways within that report. But then since then, we have seen lots of different planning efforts that, take elements of the hazard mitigation plan, and then these different pieces will incorporate within the updated plan as well. So there was the recent master plan report update. There was also the East Beach corridor vulnerability study, and then also the watershed management plan. And then finally, back in 2018, the community went through the Municipal Vulnerability Preparedness Program through the state, which is the MVP program, where many of the community members today might have been there, where there's a whole day workshop where community members work through different aspects of the community, such as structural, societal, and environmental assets, and then discuss their strengths and weaknesses. So all that data will be used to help inform this plan as well. But the hazard mitigation plan mostly focuses on the community itself, natural hazards, emergency preparedness, and some of these other different natural hazards as well. So we're going to get into all of that detail. So some of the required updates we'll have to do for the plan include updating the natural hazard types based on current information, storms that affected the area. It'll also include updating any new natural hazards or implementing any climate change threats to the area, such as extreme weather, storm frequency or intensity of storm rates for rainfall, sea level rise, and some of these other elements to add just another layer to the plan itself. Community engagement is a huge portion of the plan update as well, which is why we're so happy to see you all here tonight. And assessing any new community assets that might have been built in the last 20 years that weren't represented in the 2004 plan as well. So for natural hazard identification, some of the themes that we'll be talking about tonight, this is just a list of the natural hazards required by FEMA to be assessed. It includes wildfires, droughts, hurricanes, winter storms, all different kinds of natural hazard risks. But we're going to be going through a guided question portion of tonight as an exercise. We'll be asking prompting questions that you see on here, such as what hazards have impacted your community in the past, where and how often. Other ones too, future concerns do you have in regards to hazards in the next 5, 10 to 25 years? So these are the types of questions that we'll be discussing with you tonight and collecting all of that data, which will be exciting. So we'll also be using all the maps that you saw out there to help facilitate these conversations and go through another exercise where we'll all gather around the maps and workshop where areas of concern that you see or any information that you think is missing. The Hazard Mitigation Committee has been really great in collecting all of this data for us the last few months thus far, but we're still in the data collection process. So we really want to hear from the community members to see, what aspects aren't represented in these maps right now, or what kind of conversations haven't we had yet. So being able to speak with the community to kind of view those different features is what we're hoping for in the map exercise that we'll do also tonight. So this slide just represents 3 examples of those maps, but as you can see, there are lots of different data sources out there that we'll talk about tonight. And then for anyone who couldn't be here tonight, we offered an online survey, which was posted on the town's website and published around town as a preliminary way to collect data as well. We'll keep the survey open after we post this presentation tonight too, to help collect data for anyone who wasn't able to attend in person. Right now, we have about 26 results from the survey, and this is just the preliminary data that is collected from those 26 results. We're also going to take all the great information and document it that you give us here tonight, which will be nice and contribute to that data source as well. But these are just some of the initial responses that we're seeing. So what hazards have affected you the most in your most in the town of Westport? We're seeing items suggesting flooding, storms, hurricane, and wind. What areas are most vulnerable? I'm sure you're all very familiar with this. East Beach, coastline and harbor, farmland, and then private wells and septic systems are all topics that have been brought up. And then how severely have you been impacted by natural hazards or extreme weather? Right now, the majority says slightly at 42%, but we know that that'll fluctuate as we get more results as well. And then again, this is additional sample questions within the survey. What are the most vulnerable community groups in the town during natural disasters? And many people mentioned elderly residents. What are the town's strengths in natural disaster management? And a lot of people mentioned the fire department, which is great to hear. And then where could the town of Westport improve management for natural hazards? We saw a lot of notes about communication and also education as well. But we'll be able to ask these questions for this group here tonight too, to get additional information. And then finally, the majority of people like to receive notice of impending hazards via text message is what the majority is saying right now. So just to give a brief next steps to understand the big picture of the plan update. Tonight we're, as mentioned, in the data collection phase for the risk assessment. So we will document all of that data tonight and then finish our risk assessment analysis. Then what we'll do is work with the committee to start understanding existing mitigation measures that have been completed in the town and formulating that list. And then we'll work towards brainstorming new mitigation measures that the town would like to see within the plan. And then use a public meeting as another forum to brainstorm other mitigation measures that the town would like to see for the needs of the community, what action items they want to see completed. So that'll be a really great public meeting that we get to have again. And then we'll take all the information and create a draft report, which then the public will be able to review and provide feedback, and we'll have another public meeting to have that forum of discussion. And then we'll work towards finalizing that report and then getting it adopted. And then goals for tonight. So as I've already mentioned, we're really excited to hear all of your stories. PAR's here to help facilitate these conversations and document them, but we're really hoping to have really great in-depth conversations about natural hazards and how they impact you. Kind of referring to the question that's been mentioned a few times of how do these natural hazards affect your home, your work, or neighborhood? It's kind of the overarching goal of tonight. So collecting all of that data, and then also locating any vulnerable assets or critical facilities that might have been missed on those maps. And really just hearing your stories and thoughts from the community members. So we're really excited for the exercises that we're going to go through tonight. So that is the end of the presentation.